So ain't this some fucking beautiful bullshit? Well, I guess it's not really that big a deal. It's not a bad thing. You know, it never hurts to have extra. But I decided the other day that getting the T4, turbo that's stashed somewhere in this fucking place to match the T3 manifold I have was just gonna be too much of a hassle. I could go have dude cut it off and re-weld it for I don't know how much fucking money. I could buy the adapter that'll add 3 inches to it. I give you the plate that'll be an adapter for it, or I could just use the rebuild kit that I bought 2 fucking years ago to rebuild this turbo and rebuild this fucking turbo and use it. Now this turbo is a little bit smaller than the T4 I have, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna make the power that I want. And besides, you know, I have 750cc injectors I'm gonna use for this fucking build. I would like to squeeze as much power as possible out of it. So on pump, I would like to get up to 500 on this Nippon CSS build, but anyway, we already know that the piston power level is around like 500 to 530 wheel horsepower anyway, and I don't want to try and push those cast pistons anywhere past that. It's almost a shame because it's a CSS block. But anyway, this is all for advertising purposes for Nippon anyway. So. And honestly, like I said, I'm already thinking about the RSX. I'm already thinking about building a K, so I'll use the bigger turbo for that one. And I'm not ready to go balls deep on a big build yet. So I'm still looking for 500 wheel horsepower on pump gas. So if I don't make it on the Nippon CSS block, I have every bit of plans in the world to make it on a K that goes into that. Now I have the 2 K28-3s that I could use. And I'm thinking about doing a more mild turbo build, upgraded ARP rod bolts and Nippon Type R pistons for the K20, and use that high compression to help build power a little faster. Go for a 300 or 400 horsepower build, but I really don't trust those rods. And if I'm going to do a K, and the pace that I take to build an engine, to build a project car, which has been a really long time for the Integra. I really want to give it my best shot with the RSX. So I'm thinking about going to the fucking junkyard and pulling a K24. Now it'll be like $350, and I've been really lazy, which is why I don't want to go pull something out of a car, man. I'm gonna have to go to work to pay for this. It sucks, but the market seems to be dry for K series recently, man. There's nobody really selling one, and I don't want to pay. I don't want to ask to look for a K24 A4 because then people are gonna fucking tax me on it. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled in the meantime. I really want to finish this the Integra build, and I'm probably gonna be giving you all little snippet updates like this, little tiny updates as the build goes along. Yeah. Gathering thoughts here. So I know that we've been in this position a bunch of times before for some of you long-term guys where I've said, oh, we're almost there with the Integra, we're almost about to get it running, but we are now closer in the 2 years I've had this car to getting this car running than I have in the longest time. Now, to let you guys know what happened today and why my day kind of went shitty, I just didn't elaborate on social media. What did I say? Okay, so you guys see me clean up my clutch and my clutch and pressure plate and everything. So I went out there, I put the clutch and pressure plate on, and everything was all good, and I went to go put the tranny on, and it wouldn't sit flush. And I was like, oh, okay, the dowel pin is fucking it up. So I pulled the dowel pins out because the dowel pin was a little bent. And I was like, okay, well now the dowel pin's out of the way, it'll seat itself properly. It still wouldn't seat down properly, so I'm getting frustrated. I lifted the engine completely up on its side and was like coming down 12 to 6 with the transmission. I was like, it'll fucking go in. I'm wiggling the shit out of it. And the more pissed off I got, the less restraint I was having. So I was wiggling the fuck out of it. Hard as fucking smashing it, and it wasn't working out. So I was getting frustrated. I was like, all right, well maybe it's, if you got to put this much effort into it, something's wrong. So I loosened up the pressure plate, and I once again set the guide tool in there, and it was going in fine. So I couldn't figure it out. I was like, well, fuck it. Let me like, before I put the pressure plate on, or before I put the flywheel on, it looked like the pilot bearing was a little bit off. So I was like, all right, fine, fuck it, we'll strip it down. And I did something I don't normally do, honestly, guys. I torqued the flywheel bolts, And normally I don't do that because I have an impact gun. You know, when they're rated for over 107 foot-pounds of torque, you're definitely hitting the torque limit, which is like 76 foot-pounds. But I torqued them on, and that immediately became a fucking headache for me, taking them back off. I cracked my wrist a couple times. But whatever, I got them back off, and I took the flywheel off, and I smacked it with a rubber mallet on the plier bearing to make sure it's 100% flush, and it was. And then I took the flywheel and I laid it on the input shaft. You know, I was like, all right, well, let me just do that and then make sure everything's 100% here, copacetic. And it was. And then I even put the clutch on there to make sure it was good, and it was. And then I assembled it all back together and went to go put the tranny back on, and it still would not fully seat. Now, at this point, I'm like 2 hours into being outside fucking around, and I'm starting to get pissed. And of course, I work at a snail's pace, and before I put the flywheel on, I cleaned it up with my WD-40 and my scratch pad here to make sure we were 100% good. You know, no raised rough spots on the flywheel. So I cleaned that up again, and then the throw-out bearing, I cleaned that up because it has some rust on it, and the shaft as well. So it's not like I was spending 2 hours trying to get the transmission to sit, but I'd say probably a good 45 minutes to an hour trying to get the transmission to sit. So I put everything back together again, went to go put the transmission. I was like, surely it's gonna fall into place this time. Oh, because not only that, I didn't mention when I took the pressure plate and the clutch off, I still had the flywheel bolted on. Before I took the flywheel off, I picked up the transmission, I set it on there, and it went in, no problem, smooth as fuck. So I took it off, put the clutch and pressure plate back on, wouldn't go in. So then I broke it down again the third time to make sure I could smack in that pilot bearing. And then I put it all back together. When I put it all back together the third time, man, fucking hell, it didn't go back in still, so I was pissed. Really pissed. So I put the two training bolts on the side, the one that's on the bottom of the transmission bell housing, and there's one that's kind of like medium ways up by the number plate. And I put those two bolts in. Now, of course, it tilted the transmission out a little bit, and it opened up the gap some, but it was giving it a pressure on that one side. I was like, okay, so I got pressure on this side, so we know that's not popping back up when I wiggle it back and forth. So I grabbed one of my 25-pound plates, and I just kind of lifted the plate, and I just dunk, 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 dunk on the side of the transmission where the fucking starter housing was, and sure enough, after a couple of chunks, I could start to see it was starting to drop down, and then boom, sat flat. Now, the only thing I could think of was that, you know, there was a little bit of there was a little bit of rust buildup, tiny little bit of rust buildup in the fucking pilot bearing, and I went in there and tried to get it out as much as I could, but there might have been still a little bit of shit in there that was making it not wanting to sit as perfect as it should have, but we got it, and it didn't really take too much effort once I bolted down side of the transmission. So anyway, there's that. That's why I spent so much time doing that today. And then anyway, so the transmission is bolted back to the engine, and the timing is set. And the timing was actually going to be something I thought I was going to have a pain in the ass with. And the transmission part was going to be the easy part, but it turns out that was flip-flop. The transmission went on easy as fuck, and I've set timing enough on these fucking engines now where I already know what to do, so I wasn't struggling with it. I just yanked the belt up on the right spot and slid it on, and it was like 2 seconds. And I'm not going to do an actual walkthrough for the timing setting because that would require me doing it from scratch and showing you step by step. I just didn't feel like filming that today, honestly, guys. I just didn't want to deal with setting up the tripod and everything. But I can, without actually showing step-by-step sliding on the time belt, I can go through, show you the engine, and show you the markups, and tell you what I did. And it's very easy to follow from just based off what I said. And then eventually one day I'll do a proper timing setup, and then I'll do that. But anyway, so yeah. Oh, so I was saying about this perfect about this is I bought a fucking a couple of gaskets off eBay the other day, T3 gaskets, $6, and then I opened it up and boom, right there's a fucking gasket. But it's whatever. It's not like this is gonna be the only T3 turbo build I'm ever gonna do, so it's not gonna hurt to have extra ones. But yeah, so it's cool to have this kit. And actually thinking about this shit today reminded me that this is something I want to do. DHB Engines needs a staple of something that I can rebuild that I can sell at a moderate price. I need something that I can buy cheap, get parts for cheap, and resell at a decent markup that's not going to be something that people are going to run away from. It's hard for me to build an engine block and sell an engine block for $800 when I don't have as popular name as I should have. But then again, at the same time too, I am still low-key selling shit on Facebook. I'm not advertising VHP engines. And it seems like every time I've been out to buy parts since I've been in Florida, which has not been too many times, that people have recognized me for what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm still kind of hiding in the closet. I'm not ready to go full on yet, but we're getting there. So yeah, I forgot that I had planned on buying blown up turbos or smoking or leaking or whatever and doing rebuilds, because you can buy used turbos for like 150, 200 bucks all day. Shit, you can buy new ones for that. But I'll see about buying older turbos that need to rebuild and buying the kits and then either keeping them or selling them. It's whatever. So this is going to be, this test kit is run right here when I do the Integra is going to be to see how well this rebuild kit holds up. Although I have a lot of faith in it because I've been watching a bunch of other guys rebuild the turbos and they're using the same shit and successfully. Ooh, I just cut ass. Don't know if you heard that or not. Being gassy. Don't mind me. So yeah, I was gonna break this down tonight, but I took a shower already and I'm not gonna get dirty again. Even outside, I was gonna work out some more. But I'm happy with the progress I made today. It's not like fucking. I wanted the swap to be 100% ready to go, but that didn't happen. But we're really close to it, and really close to it at this point. So the rest of the stuff is just like bolting the little accessories on the swap. I'm gonna put the alternator on. So I gotta dig out my brackets because I don't have the brackets on there. I gotta put the alternator brackets back on there. Put the alternator on. I'm gonna put the fuel rail I have on, the injectors, of course. And I gotta get the sandwich plate off that other block I have, put the sandwich plate on. I'm probably gonna mount the turbo and the harness, so that way when I fucking drop the swap in, it's literally just unfold the harness, put the 3 connectors on that side, unfold the harness, put the 3 connectors on this side. And I really don't understand why people fucking take the harness off and then take the engine out. It's double their work. Like, you gotta bend over and reach into dark places. You know, I don't understand why people do that. It's 3 connectors, fold over, pull out. Yeah, you're not gonna pinch the harness anywhere, guys. So yeah, it's just weird. Anyway, yeah, I guess that's it. It's more than I figured I had to say. I just want to give you an update. You guys have seen the swap. I've already bolted it all together. You've seen it on Instagram and whatnot. So you'll see more of that here pretty soon. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some more work tomorrow in the morning if I get myself up early enough to do my run and go outside and work on it. We'll see. Maybe just do something small like grab the alternator brackets and put those on. You know, baby steps. You know, I like to do most of my work around the weekends, guys. And then what's the other thing that I can do? And then start this fucking turbo rebuild. I need to get gloves. I still got fucking dirt stuck in my fucking palms. Even after I scrubbed, you know, the side of the fingers, occupational hazards or whatnot. But I'd like to have cleaner hands when I'm going to be at home. It's one thing I'm at work when I have Gojo and everything. It's another thing here. Dishwashing soap is overrated. Doesn't work that well. So yeah, that's it. That's just an update. The swap for the Integra. I feel pretty confident saying that I'm gonna be dropping the swap in. For those of you guys that also paid his Instagram, like I was saying earlier, I bought the cherry picker, so that's finally done. So I feel fairly confident saying that the swap is going to be in the car this weekend coming up. And once that is sitting in place, it's not very much to actually turn it on. You know, we're gonna turn it on soon. I got the fuel pump. I need to get a starter, but I think the only thing I need to make it drive would be axles. So it's very close to starting and running. Oh, I still got to reassemble my fucking brake calipers and all that bullshit. That's a whole other bullshit story. It's a whole another time. But very soon we're gonna be starting with a K build. It's gonna be, you know, serious for the RSX because I really want to get that car up and running. Is, you know, I don't want to take 2 years of that, and at least for the Integra I had an excuse for why it took so long. The RSX, it shouldn't take me much longer. Hopefully, if everything goes smooth, we'll be having the Integra tuned and we'll be making decent progress already on the RSX. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Peace.